He was just doing his job, quietly helping patients, saving lives, carrying a future inside her. She never expected that a single moment would turn her world into a nightmare. In front of everyone, a powerful man looked at her, not as a human being, not as a mother-to-be, but as someone beneath him. And what he did next left the entire room frozen in silence. No one stepped in, no one spoke up. But what he didn't realize was this: her story didn't end there. Because behind her quiet strength was a truth he never saw coming, one that would soon turn his arrogance into something else entirely. The question is, when power meets the wrong person, who really wins?
It was a routine day at the hospital. She moved from one patient to another with quiet focus, her presence bringing comfort in a place filled with fear and uncertainty. Even with the weight of long shifts and the life growing inside her, she never slowed down. To her, this wasn't just a job, it was purpose. Most people saw her as calm, kind, dependable. But not everyone saw her that way. Some saw something else, something they judged before even knowing her name. And over time, those looks, those subtle moments started to feel heavier. Still, she kept going. She had plans, responsibilities, a future she was building step by step. Nothing was going to distract her from that. But that day, something was different. A black luxury car pulled up outside the hospital entrance, drawing attention without trying. The kind of presence that made people step aside without being asked. She didn't pay it much attention at first. Why would she? But within minutes, their worlds would collide in a way no one inside that building was prepared for. And what started as just another shift was about to become something no one would forget. At first, it was just a glance, the kind that lingered a second too long. He stepped out of the car like he owned the ground beneath him. Sharp suit, cold expression, the kind of presence that made people lower their eyes without thinking. Conversation slowed. Nurses moved aside. Even the air inside the hospital entrance felt heavier. She kept walking, clipboard in hand, focus steady. Just another patient to attend, just another task to finish. But then his voice cut through everything. It wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. He called her over like she was invisible until he needed something. No greeting, no respect, just expectation. She paused, slightly confused, but professional as always. She turned, ready to help, because that's what she did. But the moment she stood in front of him, something shifted. His eyes scanned her, not with concern, not with urgency, but with judgment, the kind that strips away dignity without saying a word. And then came the tone, sharp, dismissive, laced with something deeper than anger, something colder. She tried to explain, calmly, clearly, hospital protocol, patient priority, the rules that applied to everyone. But to him, those rules didn't exist. His impatience grew, the tension thickened, staff nearby began to notice, but no one stepped in, not yet, because this wasn't just frustration anymore, it was something else, something dangerous. And then everything broke. In one sudden, shocking moment, his hand moved, fast, deliberate. The sound echoed louder than it should have. Silence followed. Her body froze. The world around her seemed to stop. Papers slipped from her hand, drifting to the floor, as if time itself had slowed down. For a second, no one breathed, no one moved. She didn't cry, she didn't scream. She just stood there, absorbing what had just happened, as if her mind refused to accept it. And he smiled, not nervously, not regretfully, but with a kind of satisfaction that made the moment even more unbearable, as if he believed he had just reminded her of her place. Whispers began to spread. Shock turned into discomfort, discomfort into fear, because everyone saw it, everyone knew it crossed a line. But still, no one spoke. Security hesitated, staff exchanged looks but stayed still. The weight of power in that moment was suffocating. And just when it felt like the silence would swallow everything, she slowly lifted her head. There was something different in her eyes now. Not fear, not weakness, but something far more unsettling. Because in that moment, while everyone else saw a victim, they had no idea who they were really looking at.
The silence didn't last long. Footsteps echoed from the entrance, firm, controlled, impossible to ignore. The kind of presence that shifted the energy in the room without a single word being spoken. Heads turned, conversations died instantly. He noticed it too. For the first time, the arrogant smile on his face faded, just slightly. A man walked in, calm but commanding, his eyes scanning the scene until they landed on her, on the mark left behind, on the stillness in her posture. And in that moment, something in him changed. He didn't rush, he didn't shout. He walked straight toward her, then stopped. The room held its breath, because whatever was about to happen next, no one was ready for it. His gaze shifted slowly, from her to him, and suddenly the power in the room didn't feel so one-sided anymore. The billionaire tried to speak, brushing it off, acting like it was nothing, like it didn't matter, like she didn't matter. But the words didn't land the same way anymore, not with those eyes locked onto him. For the first time there was resistance, real resistance. And then, without raising his voice, the man spoke. Just a few quiet words, but they carried weight. The kind of weight that doesn't come from money, but from something far more dangerous. The tension snapped. Security moved, but not toward her this time. Staff who once stood frozen now stepped forward, drawn by a shift they couldn't explain. Even the air felt different, like the balance had finally tipped. The billionaire's confidence cracked, not loudly, not dramatically, but enough for everyone to see it. Because in that moment he realized something he hadn't before. He hadn't just crossed a line, he had crossed the wrong person. And as the room closed in, as eyes turned against him instead of away, one question hung heavy in the air. What happens when power meets something it can't control? What followed wasn't loud, but it was undeniable. The man who once walked in with unchecked confidence now stood surrounded, not by fear, but by accountability. The same room that had stayed silent moments ago was no longer willing to look away. Security stepped in, not to protect power, but to restore order, and for the first time he couldn't control what happened next. She was taken aside, gently, carefully. Someone brought her water, another checked on her condition, but beyond the physical, there was something deeper, something no one could immediately fix. The weight of what had happened lingered in her eyes, not just the act itself, but the message behind it. Still, she didn't break, because this wasn't just about one moment, it was about everything that led up to it, every look, every judgment, every time someone decided who she was without knowing her. And yet, she stood, stronger than before. As for him, the consequences came swiftly, not just within those walls, but beyond them, because in a world where moments like this are often ignored, this one was seen, and once seen, it couldn't be erased. But here's the truth. This story isn't rare. It isn't isolated. It happens in different forms, in different places, every single day. Some are recorded, most are not. The real question is,